Yo, SHAU, and welcome to Anipod, episode number 2. And tonight, I want to take the time in which to go ahead and introduce myself to you all. My name is Sean McGee. I'm just an old kid from the streets of Youngstown, Ohio. And I just want to finally take the time in my life in which to celebrate life and the things in which makes us all happy. Whether it's, for me, anime, if it's you selling houses, you taking care of your loved ones, you getting your mental health together. In a really, really long weekend, I got a chance in which to start to think about life. And doing the things in which should make you happy. And that's what I want this podcast to be. I mean, I'm going to be talking a lot of anime, and I know a lot of people in which I know don't even look at this stuff. But if you want to know me, you should listen. And for those who will, join, discussions in which to have. But enough with the mushy stuff, and let's get into what the actual pod is going to be for today in spirit of JJK Season 3, hence the Gojo Eye. I just wanted to take a moment in which to kind of introduce myself when it comes to anime. And like I said, I'm just a kid from Youngstown, Ohio. I grew up on the north side, Westlake. For those who are local who will be, tuning in. And so, as a kid growing up, we had Saturday morning cartoons. I am 45 years old. So we are talking very early 1980s. And, Saturday morning cartoons are cool. And they were nice. And, you had your He-Mans and your Transformers and your, WWF cartoons. But, Growing up, I guess adapted quickly into things, and lo and behold, I woke up one Saturday morning, 8 years old, 7:30 in the morning, and all I hear is the theme song to Dragon Ball Z. My eyes was glued then. But, as you grow up, you know, things slide away from you and things kind of slide back. And, going through a lot of things that I went through in life, I kind of reversed a lot of things. The one thing in which I reversed is, the look of my face. And the fact that I am 45 and I don't look it. And I will take that for everything in which is given. So I started adapting friends of a younger generation. And with that younger generation, reintroduced me to anime, which reintroduced me into a passion in which I thought I'd ever had, and something in which that I am processing now so that I can, put some kind of stamp here. So, with that being said and done, after watching Dragon Ball Z and all the anime I've been watching over the last 7 years, I thought I would go ahead and start this podcast. I went through a lot to get here, but here we are. So, I don't know how frequently I will be doing this. I don't know how many guests I will be having, how many people will be doing this with me, but we are going to start right here and right now. So, I wanted to just go into a really, really quick standpoint of, for those who will be taking part of this and who have said, I have never watched anime in my life. I don't even know what to even begin to watch. And I just wanted to run down a quick list of a few in which I would personally recommend for someone who has never even heard the word anime, who would probably give it a try. So, this list is off the top of my head. There is no list, and there is no rhyme or reason for this. Right now, I am just some strange guy on internet. So, here is my list in no particular order. Anime number 1. With me, sometimes I want to give me something quick, give me something fast, give me something fun. So the first anime that I would recommend for anyone who has never heard the word anime would be Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. It is a little crazy comedy anime about the zombie apocalypse. It is really funny. Some parts very emotional. But most of the time, a really, really good time in which to sit down and have a laugh. And I know for myself, some days having a laugh is the last thing on people's minds. But sometimes a laugh is what we need. So if you've never heard the word anime, I would recommend Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. Anime number 2 is a very old anime. I believe it came out in the early 2000s. It's called Samurai Champloo. Uh, if you like art and things really well drawn, or if you really like for those who are artsy, slick animation, but a really, really good story told from beginning to end, I would recommend Samurai Champloo. And as a bonus, Afro Samurai as well. They are not the same anime, but those are two very, very artsy and really well done anime. Afro Samurai, up in the air because of the fact that it was, American. But they are really, really well told. And they're really simple. And I believe Afro Samurai is only 8 episodes. And Samurai Champloo is 30 something episodes. Yeah. So I was saying, as an introduction into anime, that would be a really great one. Then you have your honorable mentions like your Cowboy Bebops and your Yu Yu Hakusho's, Dragon Ball Z. If you ever want a introductory anime to just watch and see what anime is all about and the craziness and what it can store, you should watch Dragon Ball Z. My honorable mentions. Next anime. If you want to be like the people and say, hey, I want to know what people are talking about around the water cooler and touch younger people, or, find out what people don't talk about. Solo Leveling. This one I discovered on my own. It is actually the second anime that I found on my own. I had just moved into my current home, and I gifted myself a 75-inch screen television. And I had just got back into the anime thing, and I downloaded Crunchyroll. And, it gives you your chance to make your wallpapers and stuff like that. So, this picture's cool, this wallpaper's cool. And it says, hey, we recommend you Solo Leveling. What the heck is Solo Leveling? I don't know what it is. Get it off my screen. Let me go to what I know. And it kept coming. And I'm like, I don't want to see some little kid doing something that reminisces something of a video game. And one day, cleaning my room, I just said, screw it. Let me click it and play. And watched episode 1, saw, Sun Jinwoo, get his body chopped off and mutilated, and said, you have 0.2 seconds to live. Do you want to play? And it hooked me from there. And it's a really, really good and organic story. And as I guess it would say, an introductory into anime since, for the anime nerds, Solo Leveling is a manhwa. It is Korean. So I'll leave that to the voices that be. But as a story of, going from nothing to, I basically almost surpass every human on Earth. It's a really, really good story, and it has a lot of action and a lot of really, really intense, like extreme action. And the fight sequences are amazing. Next anime, and the very first anime in which I found on my own when I started, digging into animes in which I like and exploring it for myself. Kaiju number 8. It is like a really feel good buddy soldier story. Lo and behold, over the weekend, I rediscovered, and I'm probably going to have to start watching this, maybe an episode or two, just to get childhood nostalgia. I used to like the show MASH. It's a really old show from the 80s. And it was just about military medical people and the stuff in which they do. And the stuff in which they used to pass the time and stuff like that. And, I used to like to watch that with my grandmother. But it just was something that made you feel good. And when I started watching Kaiju number 8, it started off like Godzilla, and ended up being like this just really feel good. We're in the end of the world and we have to fight these giant Godzilla monsters, but we're going to feel good while we do it. And so it just goes to show about, how you convert, real life or, the stuff we used to watch when we were kids and convert it into, I guess, the modern era is what I would call, Kaiju number 8. But, watching it was like, it got to the tense moments, but, when it's over and the pieces there, though, it just makes you feel really, really good. In honorable mention list number 2. Would I recommend this to a madman? Yes. Would I recommend this to somebody who knows how to just sit down and just binge watch TV? Yes. And if you want to see a story that goes and organically just grows into something that is just a worldwide phenomenon in which that you will see how influenced it is in the world today. This. One Piece. At current standpoint, it only has one season. But that season is 1,155 episodes long. It is the longest episodic television show, period. But if you really want to see what anime really is, I would personally recommend One Piece. Now, I am insane. And up until September 2024, I had never sat down and watched an episode of One Piece. And here we stand, January 7th, 2026. And I am 80 episodes from watching it twice. I have watched a lot of One Piece in the last 14 months, in which to catch up and see how much of a worldwide phenomenon that anime is. And kudos to that entire everything for that. But that is my bonus pick. Round 2. So, if you want to just see, a story that is completed from beginning to end, and just see one in its entirety and in its completion, to some, the ending wasn't what it was supposed to be. To some, it was perfect. To me, I kind of fall in between. But that anime in which I would recommend, technically is 2. But the first one would be this one. My very first anime I completed, before I, did my hiatus and now got back into anime. Last season comes out on my brother's birthday. Bleach. I have been watching Bleach since 2006. It is the only manga in which I almost read to completion. I think I stopped at like 626, 627, right before, the final invasion. And then I started discovering, YouTube manga content creators who would do the video overlays for, the chapter reviews. And so I chapter reviewed the remainder of Bleach. So it's the only basic manga I've completed from beginning to end. It is the only anime that I followed basically from the beginning, up into, the excitement for July 26th. And, the revision of the completion of Bleach so that we can all sit and say, bravo, Tight Kubo. But this would be my basic number one overall anime in which to recommend to any human being on earth. It is a lot of filler episodes, a lot of comedic stuff, but there are, things online that will basically eliminate that filler. And if you do, and you start to watch that story from its beginning, to the end, it is a really great and original story. All about what will you do to protect the ones you love. I highly recommend it. Second, and I end on this one, would be Attack on Titan. It is grotesque. It is gruesome. But it has some really, really real world, real life, and real head thinking things that really will make you sit and think about a lot of stuff in life. Sitting and watching it and going through it and seeing the decisions that was made and seeing how, one moment in time in one burning desire could lead into you should watch the anime. And for me, that will be my list of the anime that I would recommend to somebody who has never heard the word anime. And for that, this is Anipod episode number 2. And this is SHAU. And I am out.